I'm here in the beautiful constituency of Chingford and Woodford Green with Faiza Shaheen, the independent candidate. Actually, this is my constituency as well. So, Faiza, you are independent candidate now in this constituency. You are up against the big Labour machine, who have lots of money. Their coffers are very full right now. You're also up against the massive Conservative machine, going up against the famous IDS Ian Duncan-Smith, who not only is just a Conservative candidate, he's a former Tory leader as well. How are you feeling about running as an independent in this constituency?
Yeah, when you just put it that way, I was like, wow, what have I done? But no, it's been incredible because, yes, those people do have the party machine. But I've lived here my whole life. I grew up here, I went to local schools, and the community. There's lots of people in the community here that really support me, that want to have someone they know be the MP here. And I've been fighting to be the MP here for a really long time. And even that was previously under Labour. In some ways, being an independent has allowed me just to be free and run the campaign in a much more joyous way without lots of interference from those that don't know the area at all in the regional office, at the national level, that feel like they can dictate to candidates what they should and shouldn't be saying, even though they have no idea about the area in which they're running in.
With that week, which I'm sure was very stressful for you, where you were deselected as the candidate for this constituency. In the same week, there was this battle with Diane Abbott, and some people were calling this a purge of the left. Also, the new Labour candidate, Sharma Tatla, she is, as you've pointed out many times, she's not from this constituency, even though she said she was from just down the road. Some people would...
a long way round, that A406, a long way round.
Some people would say that as well. She posted a picture of where you used to work. You often talk about the Greggs that you used to work at, where you grew up and you worked there when you were younger. She posted a picture of it, which I believe you posted saying, "This seems like I'm being targeted by this person." Also, the Labour candidates, after you were deselected, the canvassers showed up at your door and it was said that they would have known that you lived there because they have an app and they know where they're going. Do you feel bullied by the Labour Party at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Greggs thing was actually someone else that did it. A councillor from Walthamstow had gone in and stuck a poster up and the staff didn't know and they were really upset about it and then taking a picture. But I mean, it's just silly. There's stuff like that, I just think, come on, be a grown-up, it looks silly. And for a Labour councillor to do that in Sharma Tatla's name is really not a good look. So, yeah, I mean, I think that it's been bullying for a long time and I've just sort of tried to keep at it because I know that people here had worked so hard for me to be selected as, one of the few left candidates that managed to get through. I always made a joke that they'll probably kick me out, and there was part of me that thought that they would because of the way they'd been treating me and trying to isolate me. I was heavily pregnant. They took away my organiser. I mean, they've just tried to make my life very difficult. And then, of course, I kind of thought 6 weeks or less than 6 weeks before the election that I was going to be okay, but they still came for me. And I think it's for them. I think they didn't think anyone would notice. I think they didn't think I would stick up for myself. They didn't expect me to go on Newsnight. They didn't expect me to have a following, either nationally or locally. They thought that they could take me out, put in some faceless politician that no one knows here, and put the Labour sticker on, and they would be fine. They don't have any respect for the work, not just me, but volunteers and even the previous candidate have done here for years to try and win this seat. It's not a typical Labour seat at all. And I mean, you live here and it is very beautiful. I mean, it's very green and lovely, but there's lots of concerns about overdevelopment. The Tories really play into that. There is a new crowd of people moving here, but it wasn't a done deal for Labour. I think they thought it was a done deal. They could get their friend in and it would be fine. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm sure they're just glad to have got rid of me. But, I mean, it did seem to me that either they would rather have Ian Duncan-Smith than me, or they thought it would just be an easy ride for them. And either way, it's not good, is it?
I went to your rally yesterday. It was there was a lot of people there supporting you. I couldn't even guess. I don't know if you got a head count, but I had to wade my way through the crowd. We actually met Margaret as well, who she said she was a registered voter at the age of 14 for the Labour Party, and now she's 80. And because of what's happened to you, registered member. Now she's 80, and she's wanting to quit now because of your treatment, which is incredible. 66 years in the Labour Party, and she feels pushed out. But a lot of people are worried about all the independents that are running around the country, and this idea of potentially splitting the vote on the left, because people seem to be focusing more on just getting the Tories out rather than voting for who they actually want to vote to. So what would you say to those voters who are hesitant to maybe vote for people like yourself just because they want the Tories out? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I want the Tories out. I've dedicated a lot of my time and activism and research to getting the Tories out for the last 14 years. I mean, but they're gone. They're definitely gone. We're going to have a majority Labour government, and it's really about the shape of that government and the sorts of different voices we need. Now, they have narrowed what the Labour Party is, so it's no longer a broad church. You know, my voice is considered too much on the left, and I'm not exactly a radical. You know, I just have a strong position on Palestine and a strong position on things like inequality. It shouldn't be outside of the realms of the Labour Party to accept that. So, you know, for independents and where you can get an independent or a Green candidate, it's really important that you look at who you're voting for, because we're going to need some oppositional voices. We're going to need some critical voices. And I can tell you from being inside the Labour Party until a few weeks ago that there is so much control, and there's so much pressure on even those that want to say anything to not say anything. And so I worry that we will have a system within government and within parliament that just is very, very narrow, and we won't have enough oppositional voices. So yeah, good riddance, the Tories are gone. So we actually do, in somewhere like Woodford Green and some other places as well, we do have an opportunity to vote for someone different. It's a failure of our political system that we don't have more critical voices. I mean, the two-party system essentially we've got, and the first past the post system means that people often think about that. But, you know, it's a bit different here because people know me and the Tory vote's gone down, so it's not like I'm starting from zero. But it's, I do understand why people are worried about that, but I think for Chingford and Woodford Green, there's a real opportunity to just vote for the independent voice.
You mentioned being silenced about talking about greed, and corporate greed, and you talked about how, you know, it's not just a case of you were deselected over some tweets of a Jon Stewart video or anything else. It was something that was actually building up for a really long time. So how does it feel that you were silenced? You tried to be a strong voice in the Labour Party. You tried to stand up for your values, your constituents as well. And it wasn't just a small investigation over some tweets. It was much more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've been just trying to throw things at me for a while. I did some videos explaining to striking teachers about inflation and what was driving inflation. And I got told that by doing those videos for the National Education Union and for standing with teachers that I had gone rogue. That because I'd mentioned corporate greed in one of the videos, that it was vetoed and I wasn't allowed, and I had to tell NEU not to put it out because they said that corporate greed is not the kind of language they want to use because it's anti-business. But corporate greed was a driver of inflation. That's just a fact. Palestine, of course, banned from going to protests, although I went anyway. You know, it's multiple things, and even locally, you know, they were making plans, even back in 2019, like the local council was after me because they had plans to build a new incinerator, which people didn't want. And I had said that we need to review this properly because I could see within the documentation that they hadn't done proper consultation with the public. And that was also used against me at that time. But yeah, I just think, you know, it's been a long time coming. There's part of me that's just, you know, it was like an abusive relationship, and I'm kind of glad to be done with some of those people who, you know, were just out to ruin my life. Like, I was 7.5 months pregnant. I was meant to have a full-time paid organiser, and they stripped me of that. And one of the reasons they mentioned was because I'd posted about Palestine. I mean, this is how toxic it is within the Labour Party right now, and there's so much more. I have so many receipts. It's kind of scary. And the way that they treated me, which would in any other walk of life, you know, be considered unfair dismissal. You know, when I see them talking about labour rights, I'm like, really? How do you treat your own candidates? Yeah.
And what's the next couple of weeks looking like for you and your campaign? What are you going to be up to?
Yeah, just out and about as much as possible, speaking to people, making campaign calls. Just really just showing that visibility, telling people what it means to have an independent, because people are so used to voting Labour, Tory, whatever, and just making the case as to why I'll be the best representative that they could have.
Patreon.com, Turn Left Media. Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you, Turn Left.